two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And you know, they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And we know they are really groovy.
Good evening, everybody, or if it's afternoon or morning, or if you're watching on the replay, you are just as welcome. And please comment, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also to our Facebook group. Now, today, your guys, Manny Zamora and Rory Penland, will be talking about a controversial, unconventional, independent director that you may have heard of, named Robert Altman. I think a lot of us, myself included, are familiar with a lot of his works and also with his name, but we might not be able to come up with a list of our favorite Robert Altman films. At least I wasn't. These guys have done it for you because they have encyclopedic brains, they are passionate about film, and they kind of know a little bit of everything, or at least that's what everybody thinks, including myself. So Robert Altman, I will say, I am very familiar with some of his TV work, and I know he doesn't get thought of as a TV director, but he did a lot of really great work on Bonanza, which is one of my favorite shows, and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. How cool is that? So I know that some of the things that he did later on, especially with his films, I'm thinking of things like MASH, of course, eclipsed his career in television, but he's actually had a pretty cool career. He has delved into topics that make him a little bit more eccentric or unique. He goes a little bit deeper than your average director. So the guys are going to really talk about that and why some of his films tend to spark a lot of discussion, and they're seen as very artistic deep dives into the human experience, the human psyche, and they explore themes like innocence and even some politics. They delve into satire, and just he's a really interesting director. So I'm going to stop talking about him here because I am not the expert on Altman, but Manny Zamora and Rory Penland are going to set us in the right direction. Of course, Rory has his popcorn, which we come to expect.
Which I've almost eaten all that while you're talking.
It was 2 minutes, Rory. It was 2 minutes. Hey, look, I'm doing the MASH. This is the MASH thing. There you go.
It's ironic that you say that about his TV work because, yes, his first really big hit, MASH, started the first television show that really made it like, now I got to say Gunsmoke made it past 11 seasons, but MASH made it to 11 seasons.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, huge.
And Gary Berghoff, who was in the movie as Radar, actually played Radar in the TV show as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's incredible. And there's a book too, the MASH book. I wasn't too impressed with the book, but I love the movie. And then I think the series, the television adaptation, is what we all, when we think of Alan Alda and all of the great work that was done there. Yeah, it really sparked a lot of change.
And Loretta Swit.
Vietnam and all of that. And there was a lot of politics. There was a lot of satire in that as well. So fantastic.
And Larry Linville.
Yeah.
Who took over for Robert Duvall. How do you fill those shoes, huh?
That's pretty tough.
So,
Manny chose this director. Manny, what was it about Altman that you really lights you up that you wanted to discuss?
Well, the thing I like about Robert Altman or his movies is pretty much the same thing that I like about Quentin Tarantino, interestingly enough. And that is their movies they defy convention and they subvert viewer expectation. You know, most movies have a narrative. It has a beginning, a middle, an end. You know, there's a climax and all that stuff. You know, there's a story being told. And but Altman and I think a lot of it. You know, you mentioned his TV work in the 50s and 60s, where television shows were very restrictive, very. You know, they had low budgets. There were, you had to please the sponsors. You know, there was things you couldn't say, things you couldn't show, themes you couldn't tackle. And I think once he moved into movies, it was like the chains came off, and he said, "You know what? I all that stuff's going out the window. I'm just gonna do, I'm not gonna tell just regular stories. I'm not gonna, and I think that became his signature style.
Right.
Well, all of his stuff is character driven. I mean, it's all about the
yeah.
characters, and he
Exactly.
creates a world for these characters.
Mhm.
That's where the whole world of MASH came from.
Right.
It came from Altman's vision of what MASH should look like, and the characters came from there, and then the TV show picked up from there and expanded it.
Right.
But by the way, we got to give credit where credit is due. This was actually a suggestion by John Duncan that we do this. And thanks, John Duncan, because I had only seen a handful of Robert Altman films. I had to cram for this episode. I had to watch like 10 Robert Altman movies that I hadn't seen yet. So this afternoon, I'm skimming through, a couple of movies to get ready for this. I still didn't see all the ones that I think I should have seen, but anyway.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's like a.
He's got a massive body of work.
Yeah, it's like a college final for Rory here.
And I saw a couple of films. I was like,
Yeah.
And I'll mention them later. They're kind of depressing. They had depressing endings, and it just didn't go the way you expected it to.
Yeah. They're probably on my list.
We'll find out.
Okay.
What's number one on your list?
Okay, so number one on my list, which we've already kind of talked about, is MASH.
Number one on my list as well. It's definitely his number one, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. And I kind of figured. I was thinking about that, and I thought, I bet MASH is going to be on both our lists, if not at number one. MASH is based on a book, as Renee mentioned, by a man named Richard Hooker, which was actually his pen name, his nom de plume. His real name was Herbert Hornberger, and he really was a doctor in Korea, working at a mobile army surgical hospital, which is what
Write what you know.
Write what you know, exactly. He wrote a couple of sequels that were not as popular as the original book. And from what I've read, he hated
Aftermath.
Alan Alda. Well, he had nothing to do with that. But yeah, that was a network decision that was. But he
that was the kind of thing that Robert Altman wrote about in The Player.
Yeah.
Let's take all of these wonderful people and put them in another situation to make more money off of them.
Exactly. And apparently he hated Alan Alda's version of Hawkeye. He really preferred Donald Sutherland. He thought that was brilliant and much closer to the character in the book. There was actually another movie before that with Humphrey
Why am I thinking Elliot Gould?
Elliot Gould. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought I was right. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to call you on that.
No, Elliot Gould played Trapper John. And Donald Sutherland played Hawkeye Pierce.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason in my mind, I got it the other way around. Probably because Alan Alda has dark hair and,
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there was a whole bit in the movie where Elliot Gould, where the character shows up and they're trying to figure out who he is because he's in the parka and they're trying to remember, and finally, when he throws his football, it comes to Donald Sutherland. They're like, "Oh, I know who you are. You're Trapper John," because apparently he trapped some girl in a bathroom or something. I don't know. There was some weird thing. But yeah, the movie. I mean, you could definitely see where the TV show drew their inspiration. Although obviously they couldn't show as much blood and as much, violence as the movie did. But a lot of the characterizations are very similar. But MASH, I think, is probably one of his most accessible films. There's a little bit more of a narrative, although it's still very episodic, which actually is just like the book. So it was a pretty faithful adaptation of the novel.
Again, it's all about the characters, and there's like little small vignettes for each character. So you get to know the character better.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and I think one of the things about Altman not just in MASH, but in a lot of his movies, is I think part of his main thesis is that movie watching is akin to voyeurism. We're watching these intimate moments of people going through these different things, and a lot of times he has characters like standing behind glass doors or whatever, like in MASH. You always see Radar and Father Mulcahy looking in on the operating room, like curious as to what they're doing. And I feel like that's kind of how he feels about us as the audience. Like, oh, you're just kind of peering into what's happening. Obviously you can't be involved because you're outside this experience. So, yeah,
But here's a guy whose jugular vein got severed.
yeah, let me show you this, and they're trying to fix him and all this. Now, I don't know how Altman felt about women. I mean, he had a lot of female characters, and I know it's part of the time as well. I mean, movies made in the 70s, takes place in the 50s, so women were not in a great position at that time. But sometimes there are scenes where he like deliberately sets out to humiliate like the lead actress or at least her character.
Yeah.
Like the shower scene in MASH, and then there's another scene that I'll talk about in another movie. And I know at least in MASH it's comedic effect and all that, but it's a little, looking at it from our perspective now, it's a little like, wow, was that really necessary?
I don't know if it was in the book or not, but yeah, it is one of those scenes that stands out from MASH. With
actually, yeah,
Sally Kellerman as Hot Lips Hooligan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Again, she in the beginning she's kind of a foil, as is Burns. They take care of Burns very quickly.
Yeah.
He's carted off in a straitjacket pretty early on.
Yeah, and there's that little shot of him where you see him behind this fire, like kind of symbolic, like, oh, this guy is in hell, literally, and since he was such a holy roller early on,
so it's funny to see the juxtaposition to the TV show with Larry Linville taking over and being a general foil, and then later Charles Emerson Winchester the third, being the foil.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what made MASH so successful, the TV series, is that they were able to bring in different characters as others left for whatever reason. Actors decide, well,
it was the best thing and then the worst thing too, because it proved that if an actor isn't working the way Hollywood wants, they can replace him so easily.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And still make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
But it gives an actor, if an actor's got a better opportunity, to do something else, it opens that doorway for them. So there it is as well.
Yeah. But
okay, what's your number two? Because that was my number one. Here's where I think we're going to split, is the number two.
Okay. My number two is Nashville.
Okay.
Nashville
that's on my list. It's my number four.
Oh, okay. Nashville, talk about character driven.
Yeah.
It's all characters. And there's so many characters. I mean, just looking at the poster, you see everybody who's in this movie pretty much. And they all have very specific scenes, but you don't really
being Jeff Goldblum on that tri-motorcycle.
Yeah, I hardly has any dialogue at all, if at all. I don't remember him saying a word.
Magic tricks.
He does all these little magic tricks, right? And I even was like, at first I was like, is that Goldblum? And yeah, sure enough. But there's so like I said, there's so many characters. I mean, there's a few that are like the main characters, like the Henry Gibson character, which is, and the movie's about country music, essentially.
Right.
It takes place in Nashville over the course of a day or a couple of days, and it also it's another trope, another of Altman's tropes is politics, bring in politics
Yeah.
because there's this van that goes through town,
Right.
and there's this guy giving the speech, and kind of his campaign thing throughout the entire movie, and you almost see him at the end, but then something happens, which so you don't get to see the actual guy.
Well, and
Um,
I got to add too that Altman, especially in this one, probably started the trend of where you can interweave your soundtrack
mhm,
into your movie.
right,
And some of his movies are quite long because he didn't just show a short clip of some music; he actually had them do quite a bit of a song.
right,
You
yeah. I
know,
mean,
and in some
Nashville
cases,
is
a whole song.
yeah. I mean, it's essentially a musical, really. I mean, this is
Yeah, it
his
is.
take on a musical.
It is.
And what's interesting, if you see the credits, he had the actors write those lyrics, and they sang those songs. Um, uh, I'm not sure if it was live or it was pre-recorded. I know in Popeye, he had him singing live. I think he had to sing them live as well in
Yeah, Popeye's
Nashville.
a musical, as is Kansas City. His other movie, Kansas City, also has a lot of jazz blues music.
Right.
It's a great soundtrack. The movie
Yeah.
itself, it's
Yeah.
one of those. Again, it was one of those depressing ending. I mean, films, but yeah, you're not going to go home feeling happy, feel good. But it is a kick-ass soundtrack.
Yeah.
Jazz and blues
Um,
music.
yeah. Well, I mentioned earlier that he sees us as voyeurs in Nashville. It's like we're eavesdroppers.
Mm.
We kind of come into certain conversations like right in the middle. It's like we stumbled into these conversations, and we hear these stories, but we don't hear the beginning, we don't hear the end. It's just like we kind of come in the middle, and then we move off to something else. And like a lot of directors, though, he also likes to work with a lot of the same people.
Yes.
So a lot of the same people show up. Elliot
He's like
Gould,
Clint Eastwood. You'll see a lot of the same
yeah,
actors.
exactly.
John Schuck is one of the guys that he
John
used in a lot of
Schuck,
stuff. Real
yeah,
tall actor, very booming voice. Ended up playing
yeah,
Herman Munster in the remake of The Munsters.
right, yeah,
Where are the
um,
Munsters?
yeah, yeah. John Schuck's in a lot of his movies. In fact, he
um,
was in MASH.
Lily Tomlin,
Michael
Cher.
Murphy, yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
Shelley Duvall's in a lot of his
Shelley
movies.
Duvall. He discovered Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, yeah.
Brewster McLeod
Brewster
was the
McLeod.
was her debut. I mean, she had a small part in it as a tour guide.
Yeah.
Um, and then he brought her in full scale with Thieves Like Us, which, oh my god, uh,
Yeah.
that one in Kansas City. Yeah, don't expect a happy ending. Oh my god.
Oh, we got
Interpretation Lee talking
Jonathan's.
out of the side of her mouth because it was supposed to be a period piece. She's talking like all those
Yeah.
people back in that time. She did the same
Yeah.
thing. They actually had cast her in another. What was the movie about the hula hoops with Tim Robbins, Peter, Paul Newman?
Oh, that was not Barton fan.
It's killing me that I'm
Yeah,
not remembering.
yeah. That
Uh,
that was a Coen Brothers movie. Yeah.
yeah, but they evidently liked the fact that she was doing that kind of. What are you talking about? That kind of character.
Oh,
It
that very
sounds like the
yeah.
characters from the 1940s and 50s movies.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and they did the whole movie like that with Bruce
Hmm.
Campbell and again Tim Robbins, and again Tim Robbins
Yeah.
is another one that's in a lot of
Yeah.
Cohen.
And
I'm sorry, not
and Paul
Altman
Newman
stuff.
is in
Mhm.
that as well.
So
Um.
yes, Newman is in that one, which the
Yeah.
Hudsucker Proxy.
Bloodsucker Proxy. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So again, the Coen boys are actually doing Altman there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's interesting. So anyway, so yeah, so Nashville's my fifth.
that's my number
Second.
4.
Okay.
And I'm a huge art lover. You know that. I
Right.
love
Yeah.
art and I love Van Gogh. So obviously, that's my number 2 is Vincent and Theo,
Oh.
because it takes,
Okay.
yeah, it was a TV movie And I think I saw an edited version yesterday,
Mhm.
and I didn't even know it existed
Really?
until I was doing research for this show, and I was like, "Oh my god! You know, there's something other than Kirk Douglas going. I like to paint sunflowers."
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
we get Tim Roth as a very crazy Van Gogh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
again, it is such a character driven piece. Paul Gauguin in it is wonderful. I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head because I've never seen him in anything else, but he's wonderful as Gauguin in that.
Yeah.
And again, Roth's performance is candy. You know, it's just
Yeah.
wonderful to see him play
Yeah.
Vincent as you would expect him.
Yep. Uh-oh.
Yeah, are we there?
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
still there?
Yeah.
So that's my number two. Also, very beautifully photographed cinematography. It kind of takes you into the colorful world of Van Gogh, you know, and what
Yeah.
he saw the world like.
Right.
And again, it expands upon what we saw in what is the Kirk Douglas one? Lust for Life,
Lust for Life. Yeah.
The Kirk Douglas thing, which is only
Douglas
like an
and,
hour and 40 minutes. You know, so I mean,
and
we get like a good 3 hours
yeah.
of Van Gogh in that. So again, a
Right. Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Try to find it.
Yeah.
It's available. It's out there.
Yeah. Vincent and Theo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did that make your list?
As a matter of fact, it did.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's my
And
number
for a
two.
lot of the same reasons. Okay. Um. So my number three movie
Mhm.
is McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Okay. I didn't get to that one. I wanted to, and I had so many movies I had to see. I didn't get to that one.
Okay. Um.
Tell me what's
This.
great about it.
Okay. This is Altman's take on the Western,
Okay.
which he did a lot of Westerns. And I think he kind of got sick of the whole sort of, you know, how Westerns are always done. So this one takes place in, I think, like the Pacific Northwest or something. It's this cold, dreary mining camp. And he comes in, he's a gambler and supposedly like a gunfighter.
It's
Although,
Warren
or at
Beatty,
least
right?
that's it. Yeah, it's Warren Beatty.
Yeah.
It's Warren Beatty and Julie Christie, who Julie Christie had a little cameo in Nashville, by the way, as
Yeah.
herself. Well, but
Right.
yeah, she knew that. But so she plays a madam who is addicted to opium. So she's not the poor with a heart of gold type. I mean, she's kind of rough. And so she and Warren Beatty go into
As you
business
would
together,
expect.
as you would expect. Uh, she and Beatty go into business together in this town, and he opens up a saloon and a brothel, and she brings in all these girls, and it's just and he's given an offer. These two guys, and again Michael Murphy, who is in probably every
Michael
Altman film.
Murphy's in just about every Robert Altman film
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly. Usually either in
And
small part or somewhere
yeah,
there.
I mean he
And
got a living thanks to Robert Altman. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
the only other thing
And
I've seen him in is Batman Returns. It's the mayor.
yeah, it's like, well, where's Waldo? It's like, where's Michael?
He's there somewhere.
He's got to be there somewhere. So he plays like a representative of this mining company who comes and offers to buy out his business, but Warren Beatty's character McCabe, he's not that bright, and he's a little greedy, and he holds out for a better offer. Well, instead of a better offer, they send some gunmen to take him out. Uh, and like you said, not the happiest of endings. I'm not going to spoil it for you if you still want to see this movie.
Thank you, Altman.
Uh, Keith
You know, and he
Carradine.
ironically he makes fun of the happy ending movies in The Player as well. You got to
Yeah,
have a happy ending, so you know
yeah,
that that's him thumbing his nose at Hollywood,
Oh,
saying,
very
"Oh, how
much
many
so.
times did I try to make a film and you made me give it a happy ending?" That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think pretty much all his movies are basically thumbing his nose at not just Hollywood, but he has a very jaundiced view of pretty much everything, and politics, American culture, which he trashes in Nashville, and a lot of other things. But yeah, so this is his take on the Western. Again, beautifully shot by one of the great cinematographers, and I I can never pronounce his name. It's like Zsigmond something or other, Um, beautifully
Oh,
shot.
Renee Abershanoy is also another actor that appears in a lot
Yes,
of his stuff.
yeah. He's in McCabe and Mrs. Miller. He's in MASH. I don't remember him in Nashville, but he's probably in there somewhere. Uh,
He's Father Mulcahy in MASH.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's the other target. Religion. Again, very
Yeah,
not a fan of organized religion, apparently. Um, so yeah, it's I
Scientologist, eh?
I for something. Uh, yeah, if you want to watch a movie a western that doesn't follow the rules, I was going to say Keith Carradine's in it as well, in a brief role. Uh,
Carradine's in a lot of his stuff. Yeah, early stuff.
yeah, yeah. In
He's in
fact,
Nashville and he's in
going back to
Thieves Like Us.
Nashville, yeah. Um, as you know,
Thieves
uh,
Like Us has Keith Carradine having a love story with Shelley Duvall. So it's not these two Barbie and Ken pretty people having a love story. It's
right, yeah,
it's real people. It's regular
yeah,
people, having a
yeah,
love story.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
of course it's a tragedy.
right, yeah. Um,
It meets with a Bonnie and Clyde type ending.
right, yeah. Yeah, Beatty and Christie have a kind of little romance going as well in the
Mm.
movie, with their characters.
But she does
And
have a golden heart.
I read that apparently Beatty and Altman hated each other, and apparently Beatty
That would
said that,
that would answer why he's only in that movie.
and that yeah, uh, he said that uh, he's quoted as saying that if he had produced the movie, he probably would have killed Altman at some point. So that it's not,
He would have
not,
had
not
Michael Murphy kill him.
yeah. It's like, you can't kill him. I got a career. He's giving me a
Hey,
career.
this guy's put my kids through college.
Exactly. So anyway, okay. So number
All right,
four,
so
I think
that's
you
number
said
three.
that's number three on my list.
My number three is The Player
Okay.
with Tim Robbins playing the lead character. It's got a zillion people in it, which Altman loves to do. He loves to do movies with like 50 people in them,
Yeah.
instead of 8 people. So right down to the end where you get Julie Roberts in the movie that the guy makes, and Bruce Willis coming to rescue her, which is one of the most hysterically bad movie endings, for a reason. It's supposed to be.
Mhm.
He takes a shotgun and shoots open the poisonous gas chamber which she's in, putting the gas out where everybody is watching. It's wonderful, and he manages to pull her out, and she's okay. Happy ending.
Of course. Yeah.
Um,
Gotta have the happy ending.
he likes to do, I want to say trompe-l'oeil, where you actually see things in the movie that are like credits for the movie. Like at the end of Brewster McCloud, they have this big circus scene.
Mhm.
At Brewster McCloud's death at the end of the movie. Sorry, spoiler. And again, they're announcing all these actors who are in the movie playing these characters as these circus acts.
Mhm.
So he likes to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. He does the same thing in MASH. At the end of
Yes.
MASH,
Yeah.
there's the announcement where
The ending
they
credits,
show
you have
each
the
character at the end of the
announcer
credit. Yeah.
announcing all the people who are in
Yeah.
the movie,
And
giving them a
and
kind of a bow.
speaking of Brewster McCloud, Burt Court, who played, you know,
Bud
who's in that
Cort.
movie, Bud Cort rather.
Bud Cort,
Right.
yeah. He was
He's
in a
in
lot of
MASH
the
as
early
well, and in some other movies. Yeah.
Right, and he's Brewster McCloud, which is the main
And he's Brewster
character.
McCloud. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people, and I went back and looked to make sure that Altman didn't do Harold and Maude. That was somebody else, but Bud Cort is the kid in Harold, the suicidal kid in Harold and Maude, and that's what most people remember him for.
Yeah.
But he was in The Life Aquatic not that long ago, and with Bill Murray, and it's who's the guy that does all those really?
Oh, Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson, yeah, does like the really bland characters, the bland delivery, and which I think is hysterical. It's very funny. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
And Bud Cort, like you say, he does a cameo in MASH, and he goes on to do Brewster McCloud, and
which it was before MASH, I believe. Yeah. So,
what's that? Brewster McCloud was before?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think it was right after, like the next year.
Was it after? Oh.
I think it was the next year. Yeah. Okay. MASH was, I think, 71. I think that one was 72.
MASH was 70.
Okay. Again, I think I saw on IMDb that it was the year after.
Okay. All right.
So, in any case, and again, Michael Murphy. He's always there. He's there somewhere. Look for him.
Where's Waldo? Where's Murphy?
You talk about cameos for Hollywood people, like Cher and stuff like that. Yeah, The Player is just filled with them. Fred Ward is another one in the middle movies. The movies from the mid 80s to mid 90s. Fred Ward was in all of them. What was the other one? I just watched. Shortcuts. He was in Shortcuts, the LA stories kind of. Altman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a big role in that. Matthew Modine was in that. Matthew Modine strikes me as the kind of an actor that Altman would want to work with, but for some reason that one was just about it. I think that he did. So he must not have liked Matthew Modine out there. Maybe
like Warren Beatty. He wound up hating Altman.
Yeah, could be. So The Player has an interesting story about the guy. It focuses on the guy who makes movies, who gives him the green light, and he only does like 18, I think, a year. It said, and out of like thousands and thousands and thousands of script ideas, it has a scene at the beginning that's very Hitchcock-esque, where they're going through the actual movie studio and they go past Tim Robbins' window like 3 times, and different people. In that 5 minutes, 3 people are pitching ideas, and one of them is Buck Henry. Mm-hmm. Buck Henry's in a couple of his movies too. He's in Shortcuts. And it's a long sweeping shot that goes through and around and all around, and it lasts like 8 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure they showed that in film classes. Because it's pretty masterfully done.
Yeah.
Now they could probably do it with computer generated animation, but anyway, or editing somehow. But that one, was like a Hitchcock from Rope. Once if they screwed up on it, they'd have to go back to square one,
right? Yeah,
and do it all over again. And I don't know how many times he did it, but it was an impressive shot at the beginning. Yeah. And he's getting death threats from a writer that he turned down, and he thinks he's found the writer, and he kills him, and it turns out to be the wrong writer. And the guy's still sending him postcards and telling him, hey, I'm going to kill you and all that stuff. And eventually they work out a deal to do the movie about what happened in the movie. So,
yeah. And I rewatched that one. Didn't make my list, but I rewatched it, and I thought about it. It's like, this is actually pretty relevant to now.
Yes.
I'm sure the industry has not changed since he made that movie. It was like in the 90s.
Yes. Mid 90s.
And not like considering, that we had a writer's strike not too long ago, just finally settled, and the actors are going on strike or still on strike, and auto workers and what have you. And it's like, this is Altman's take on Hollywood, and
yes,
I'm sure this is firsthand experience on a lot of.
And he got away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, it's a good movie.
It is.
Okay, number
Number four.
four. Yeah, number four on my list. We kind of already talked about was Vincent and Theo.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, like you said.
Wasn't sure if it was going to make your list or not because it was a
Oh,
TV movie.
oh no. I watched the sort of edited version, which they made
Mm-hmm.
into a movie. Um, yeah, Tim Roth, excellent. Uh, Also, Paul Rice or Reese, I'm not sure how you
Yeah.
pronounce that, as Theo, as his brother, which I think not a lot of people know about, that he had a brother and
Yeah.
that he was basically the one who kept Vincent afloat, sending
Yeah.
him money and supplies and what have you, And I think most
Well, and
people
he
only know
ended up
that
opening up a gallery, to
ended
help
up putting up a
sell his brother's
gallery and all
paintings.
that. I gotta say though, and this is probably silly, but my favorite version of Vincent Van Gogh is Tony Curran in the Doctor Who episode.
Oh,
But that was that's kind of a weird take on it.
understood.
But Tim Roth, I mean, really don't even say anything else. He is such an excellent actor,
Yes.
and yeah, his version of Van Gogh, he really captures the mania and the insanity of his character. I mean, you really feel uh, what he was about, but also his passion.
Mhm.
And as much as I do like the Kirk Douglas, the Lust for Life version, with Anthony Quinn playing
It's
Gauguin,
fun to watch,
it's
especially
fun to
because
watch,
of
but
Anthony Quinn.
it's yeah, but that's really kind of old Hollywood, that old Hollywood style
Yes.
of movie making, and which was what
It's
Altman
a
was
good double
rebelling
feature to
against.
watch with Moulin Rouge, with Mel
Yeah,
Ferrer. Or
yes,
Jose,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Jose
Jose
Ferrer.
Ferrer playing
Yeah.
Toulouse-Lautrec. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Trying to remember who was the actor who played Gauguin in that movie in Vincent and Theo. I guess we could look it up, but anyway,
Again, yeah, it's an actor I don't know his work, his body of work.
yeah,
I didn't recognize him. I saw his name on the IMDb, but I'd forgotten it. Sorry.
yeah,
I get, I should look that up because
yeah.
he did a great
Let's really,
job.
yeah.
Oh,
Let's.
my other phone's over there. Anyway, he did a
Well, here,
great
let
job.
me, let me. I can
If you
look it
can
up real
find
quick.
it, watch it because it's a really good interpretation of how Van Gogh's life probably was.
Yep.
My number four was Nashville, so we've already
Okay.
talked about it at length. Um, uh, who would you say was the standout character in that?
In Nashville.
Yeah,
Oh man, so many.
yeah. It's such a ensemble piece. It's hard to pick out anybody,
But
but
actually,
Henry
I'll tell
Gibson
you.
to me
Yeah,
really
Henry
kind of stole the
Gibson.
show.
He was the glue that held the whole thing together. Uh, and I like oh, what's his name? Oh, he was in
And I
Superman.
like
What was
Karen
his name?
Black.
Karen Black. Even though she kind
It's
of
awesome.
came
Well,
in
she's kind of standoffish, and what I liked
yeah,
about her was she does really good like mock uh sincerity, like she's enjoying being with all these other people, but you could just tell that it's just grating on her nerves to be
right.
sitting at tables and drinking with these people.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like they were kind of. I mean, it wasn't like these are those people, but I feel like Ronnie Blakely's character, Barbara Sue or whatever her name was, is kind of a Loretta Lynn type character, and Karen Black was
She had
more
the
the
look, yeah, the
Tammy
Loretta
Wynette
Lynn look.
character, with the blonde hair and everything. And I
Mm.
feel like Henry Gibson was kind of a George Jones type character. I mean, it wasn't like this who they were supposed to be, but
Yeah.
clearly there was an amalgamation of a lot of these
Yeah.
country western stars,
Right.
and of course there was a hit song that came out of the movie. Uh, the Keith Carradine, actually, his song
Oh.
that he sings
Okay.
in the pub. What was it called? Shoot, I just had it in my head. Where he's singing it to Lily Tomlin, basically, in that one scene.
Right.
It became a hit. It was a huge hit at the time. It was
And
on the
Shelley
radio,
Duvall was
actually.
in that one as well.
And Shelley Duvall, very odd character too. Keenan Wynn. But there's a character, there's this little minor character that you see throughout the entire movie, who wants to be the country singer, and she winds up at the very end after something happens.
The
A
one who
shooting
can't sing.
happens. No, not that one, but the other one, the little blonde, the
Oh,
one that kept
okay.
running
All
away
right. I
from
know
her
what you're talking about
husband
now. Yeah.
or her boyfriend or whatever. I think the actress name is Barbara Boxley. I kept thinking it was Barbara Harris, but it's not.
No.
She, to me, she kind of, she like, it's always in the background. But yeah, the one who can't sing, who winds up having to do this humiliating striptease, and that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Just this. Oh, I kind of feel bad for her,
Well,
and
you're supposed to,
yeah,
because they're all
not
encouraging
just for the
that.
character, but for the actress herself, having to do that. And but still being so delusional and thinking that she can sing, and the one guy was telling, no, honey, you can't sing. You just can't sing. She's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to sing with Barbara Sue or whatever. And of course she doesn't get to, but for
Yeah.
reasons, which I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen this movie. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting character, that she sort of rallies everybody together at the very end, and there's this little minor character that's just kind of like, who is she? What is she doing? But I kept my eye on her, like she's going to do something interesting, and sure enough. But yeah, there's so many
When the big
characters.
calamity happens at the end, she gets her chance to sing.
Yeah, finally gets her chance to sing, and it's really
And that,
good
by
and kind
gosh,
of
is
brings everybody
Nashville.
together.
Yeah.
Huh?
And that, by
Yeah,
gosh, is Nashville.
yeah, yeah.
Number 5.
Number 5 on my list
Yes.
is Popeye.
There it is. Number 5 on my list too.
Yep. I mean, kind of brings it all together. And there's Shelley Duvall
Shelley Duvall,
playing the character she was born to play.
perfect as Olive Oil.
Mm-hmm.
Robin Williams as Popeye, of all people.
Yeah.
The little kid that plays Sweet Pea was like Altman's grandson, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so.
He was related to Altman.
Either his son or his nephew, maybe.
Maybe his grandnephew. Maybe his grandnephew. It's either his grandson or a grandnephew. What a world. This should be number 2 on my list, because I mean, what a world he creates in Sweet Haven, with characters played by stage professionals like Bill Irwin, who was known for doing physical. God, they're like magical tricks you do with your body,
Yeah.
And who would have believed that Donald Moffat would agree to do a character like, the tax collector in that,
Right?
or Richard Libertini would be pulled in to do his character of Giesel.
Hoopla.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful, wonderful cast, wonderful world that he builds there in Sweet Haven. They're all wearing the funny big shoes, and oh man, it's hysterical from minute 1 to the end. And Paul Smith is Bluto.
Right. Yeah.
Ray Walston as Poop Deck Pappy.
Poop Deck Pappy. Yeah.
Just a wonderful, wonderful world that he's created. And again, it's all character driven. It's a musical, wonderful musical number.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall can't sing either, but it doesn't matter. She's Olive Oil.
Yeah. Harry Nilsson wrote the music.
Yes. I always thought this should be made into a Broadway play.
Yeah,
that they should just create Sweet Haven on stage and do it as a Broadway musical
I'm
play,
surprised they haven't. Yeah.
and they haven't done it.
The
And
set, by the way, the set is still there in Malta. It's still it's a
really,
tourist attraction now. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
man,
Somebody, some real estate developer or something
great
bought
idea.
it and turned it into a
Great
tourist
idea.
trap,
Oh
basically.
man, there's
A
someplace I'd
tourist
like to go
attraction.
see.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah. So
love to
it's
go
all
to. I'd
there.
love to go to Sweet Haven.
All the sets. Yeah. They went in and made the buildings, stable and everything. So
What
it's
am I?
still there.
I'm Popeye the
I'm
Sailor,
Popeye.
and I
Yeah.
am what I am, what I am, and that's all that I am. Music sticks in your head. He needs me. He
Oh
needs
yeah.
me. He needs me. He needs me. He needs me. He needs me. I mean, I mean, I mean. You know what I mean? Just a great, great musical.
He's large.
He's large.
He's
My
good
cousin used to
looking.
sing that to me and crack me up. Good looking, and he's large.
And he's
So
large.
large, and he's mine.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Popeye is a
Uh,
gem. It truly is.
yeah. And going back to McCabe and Mrs. Miller, the music in that was written by, and there's two or three songs in that movie was written by Leonard Cohen. So
Oh,
he gets these really good uh, songwriters to
he
do the
likes to do
music.
good music. He likes to
Yeah.
do good music.
So
Again, I've been talking about shortcuts. Yeah,
mhm,
there's some music in that as well. That
mhm.
I mean, they keep cutting back to a place where there's nightclub singing. You
Yeah.
know, Robert Downey Jr., who was in the throes, I think, of his addictions when he did
Yeah.
that movie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you can see it. But that's his character in the movie too, so you can see it.
Right.
Um, and was it Lily Taylor, uh, and Tom Waits? You know,
Hmm.
come into this club and oh hell, I can't remember the actress's name now. She's singing.
You know,
I
I
can't
haven't
remember
seen
the actress's.
Shortcuts. Now that I
Yeah,
think about it, I haven't seen that movie. That's one I haven't seen.
yeah.
So
Lily
but,
Tomlin's in it.
oh yeah,
Tim Robbins is in it. A lot of good people in it.
yeah.
And again, it's his take on L.A. basically,
Okay, all right.
and how
Yeah, I'm
L.A.
gonna have to look
is.
that one up.
Everybody's cheating on everybody.
Of
you
course.
know,
Yeah.
and you have a bit about an earthquake at the end. So it's interesting, and it happens during the Medfly, uh,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, thing where the Medflies are causing problems with the fruits, and they're having to spray. And
Right. Right. Yeah.
Peter Gallagher's in it. Fred Ward. Interesting movie.
Yeah.
It didn't make the list. It
Didn't make
deserves
the
a mention.
list.
Didn't make the list.
Yeah. So, what are your honorable mentions?
Gosford Park
Yeah.
is an honorable mention. A little too British for me. It's kind of weird going into that world knowing that Robert Altman is at the helm.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't relate. It's very Downtown Abbey
Hmm.
ish.
Yeah.
So I didn't enjoy it as much. I enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as like Popeye or MASH,
Right.
or
Yeah.
Nashville.
Well, I think Gosford Park. It's he did for British actors what he did for American actors. Like got everybody he could think of in this movie. I mean, it's Helen
Yeah.
Mirren and oh my God, all these different actors and
Marin's
actresses.
performance is wonderful in that.
Yeah.
Maggie Smith, you expect Maggie Smith to be
Oh,
Maggie,
Maggie
Smith,
Smith. Yeah.
So
In fact,
Brewster
I think.
McCloud was another one. Brewster
Oh,
McCloud is just so weird. It's such a weird movie. Um, Sally Kellerman, Bud Cort, Shelley Duvall,
hmm,
and this was the only one I think that he did with Stacy Keach. But Keach plays such a bizarre character. He's an old man, uh, he's like who's the film producer who kind of went nuts at the end of his career? Very rich man.
Howard Hughes.
Yeah, he's like a Howard Hughes character,
Oh,
except they do like slapsticky burlesque humor with him, and he's in a wheelchair.
okay.
Yeah. So again, that's the kind of weird stuff that's going on in Brewster McCloud. And again,
Yeah.
Brewster McCloud is a young boy who lives in the stadium, and the football stadium. He's kind of hiding out, living
I think
there.
it's the
And
Astrodome.
yeah, and he's building a set of wings to fly. He wants to fly.
Right, yeah.
And Sally Kellerman is kind of his muse, I guess.
Yeah.
And she plays kind of a bird lady character. And there's murders. All these people that come into the film that connect with this kid, they get murdered, and they're covered in bird poop. So it's just really weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird, Altman. Going
Yeah.
off the rails. How about you?
Actually, Gosford Park is
Mhm.
one of my honorable mentions. I saw it a while back. Enjoyed it, you know. And also there's a movie called and The Player is one of my honorable mentions. Didn't make my list, but
Well, that's right. It didn't make your list.
it was one of the good ones. And there's a movie that he did called A Wedding with
Okay.
Carol Burnett and Paul Dooley. Desi Arnaz Jr. is in it. And it is about a wedding and the reception. And it's typical Altman. There's all these characters. We're not sure if the wedding's going to go off or not. And there's people having affairs with other people and secret things going on. And it's an interesting movie.
Definitely sounds like
And
character-driven Altman.
very character driven. And there's another movie that I saw that I saw a while back. Another Altman movie that's probably one of his weirdest. I mean, which is saying a lot for an Altman movie that it's weird, and that's Quintet with Paul Newman. This one is just it's bizarre. It's this sort of his take on sci-fi, and it's post-apocalyptic. There's a new ice age going on.
Paul
and
Newman,
people are
post-apocalyptic, really?
yeah
Oh,
yeah
jeez.
and people are
I'm gonna
playing
have to
this
go find that one.
game. Yeah, it's very it's very slow moving. I mean, it's glacial uh, but it's fascinating. It's a fascinating story if you stick with it. But yeah, it's called Quintet, and it stars Paul Newman, who was in another western that Altman did called Buffalo Bill and the Indians.
Yeah, I wanted to do that one, and I just didn't get it downloaded. I didn't get around to it.
Yeah. So, which was a little bit more traditional than McCabe and Mrs. Miller, but I just like that one better. Buffalo Bill is a little too satiric for me, which is saying a lot. But it's still a good movie. I mean, I would still recommend it, but it's not one of my favorites.
Is it? Does it preach to help the Indians, or I mean, is it? You would think that Altman would do that.
Yeah. It does get a little preachy. It does get a
That
little.
make
Like I said,
the social commentary that
the
we
whole
took everything from the
yeah
Indians.
yeah basically. I mean, Buffalo Bill comes across as just the the evil white man exploiter, and yeah, like I said, it throws the trope of the good guys and the bad guys, cowboys and Indians, completely on its head, kind of like a Little Big Man, in a way.
I love Little Big Man.
So, anywho, so that's my list.
Well, okay then. Again,
Miss
I feel
Renee?
I feel I should rename Kansas City and Thieves Like Us, because those are his two period pieces that take place during the Depression.
Yeah.
They have depressing endings, both of them. One is the Thieves Like Us is a kind of his take on gangster films like Dillinger and
Right.
Bonnie and Clyde. The thing to watch that for is Jennifer Jason Leigh's character in it.
Right. Yeah.
She just does this really bizarre, unlike Jennifer Jason Leigh character, which is just really interesting.
Yeah.
She's very interesting to watch in that film.
Yeah.
And
Like I said, I mean,
the whole
I
thing is
really,
she's trying to get her man back.
yeah.
I gotta get my man back.
Yeah.
She kidnaps a millionaire's wife to get her man back.
Yeah.
Oh, and Harry
That's what-
Belafonte
Oh,
is
Harry
the
Belafonte.
villain in the movie, and he
Oh,
is
wow.
just, oh my gosh,
A
what
villain?
great, yeah,
Wow.
what a
Cool.
great play against.
Does he do a
type,
good job?
And oh my god, he's horrifically villainous.
Wow.
Yeah,
I would not
And,
expect that at all. That's
oh
interesting.
man, that too is worth watching it for. Is his performance in that?
Yeah.
But again, don't expect to come out, twink, doing a dance, doing a jig, have a happiness. It's depressing, and so is Thieves Like Us. So again, Shelley Duvall and I want to say Kiefer Sutherland, but it's
Keith
Keith
Carradine.
Carradine. Keith
Yeah.
Carradine get together in that, and you think he's going to pull away from the life of being, a criminal and all. And then you get the reality ending.
Yeah.
Louise
very
Fletcher
much-
turns
very-
him in.
Yeah.
She's
Well,
the Dub Taylor of that film.
Uh oh.
No. Shh, 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 shh. All right, boys, surround the house.
So, did you learn anything, Renee?
I did. I want to see the Vincent one after hearing you guys talk about it, which I
Yes.
hadn't seen,
Tennessee, yeah.
and I want to check out Nashville. I love Jeff Goldblum, and I never watched Nashville, so it sounds
Yeah.
interesting. I like ensemble
What's
pieces.
funny is Nashville has a kind of a downer ending, but it's not as bad. I mean, it's like you can get through it.
Yeah.
And again, the
Yeah.
girl singing at the end kind of, it's like you can see that they're getting through it like immediately. So it's like not so depressing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want to see this one. as
Oh
well.
yeah, come back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean. Another Cher, Karen Black.
Yeah. Sandy Dennis. Yeah.
Sandy Dennis, actually, it's basically around her. She's the character, really. And also Kathy Bates, a very young Kathy Bates, is in that, and she's really good in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of his nod to nostalgia and the old diners, and a nod to James Dean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, because he directed was it the documentary or whatever, like 2 years after James Dean passed away, he did that famous.
Oh,
was it-
Yes.
Yeah. So I
yes.
think, so there's something about James Dean and Robert Altman. I don't know. We got to go back and check. But
Yeah.
obviously he's got some respect for the man.
Well, I hope
absolutely.
John
And,
Duncan was happy.
Yeah, and Jonathan Duncan was saying this was his first choice. He wanted to know why you guys didn't have it on your main list. Like, he
Shortcuts.
loved it.
Yeah, Shortcuts, again, is his take on LA, and there's just so many others character pieces that I thought were just more entertaining and better. Again, MASH got to be at the top of the list.
Yeah,
Nashville.
yeah.
If you haven't seen Nashville, definitely check out Nashville. Another great character piece. I like The Player. I really love the smack in the face that he's given to Hollywood, and they're letting him do it. There's a lot of real satirical smacks at Hollywood in that film. That's just wonderful, and everybody goes in the film going, "Yeah, let's do it. let's take a swipe at these knuckleheads that we work for."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hadn't seen Shortcuts. That's one of the ones that I haven't seen, so I need to go back and watch that one. Brewster McCloud, I saw, oh my God, years and years and years ago. I think I was too young to really get it at the time because it was like the early 70s or early.
Yeah.
So I was confused half the time, like, what the hell's going on?
It's a confusing, really bizarre film. Yes.
Yeah. So
Kind of slapsticky.
yeah.
All right. So next time we're going to do
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu. Oh no.
Yeah. Whoa.
Every time I see him in a movie, I see Bill from or Ted from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
He's so much more than that. Come on, he's so much more than that.
Whoa, that Dracula dude is gnarly, dude.
That would have been so much better than the horrible British accent that he attempted.
Johnny Mnemonic. Whoa, my brain is about to explode. Speed. Whoa, this bus is like really going fast, man. So we'll rehash all of this shtick next week.
Yeah. All right, Miss Renee.
Yes, I want Rory to talk about It's Casual.
Okay, tomorrow night we have a couple of comedians coming on the show. Bill Bull Ose is coming on, and Steve Eric, who I've been trying to get on It's Casual since the beginning of the show. We actually had a fundraiser for him about a year and a half ago to help raise the money because he had some real serious medical issues. And so glad that he's agreed to come on the show because he and Bill are roommates. And he said, if Bill does it, I'll do it. So we're going to have some fun with those two guys. I mean, I traveled the road with Steve Eric quite a bit back when I was a comic. I mean, we worked together a lot. And so it's going to be nice to reminisce with him again. And I really, really respect Bill because he's got videos that he does on TikTok. He's got about 37,000 followers, and he's so humble about it. But he picks out other people's videos and he does a comic take on them, which is hysterical. And again, everybody still likes. They like that, you know. They're with him on that. Okay, I agree with you on that, dude. So he's a big TikToker, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about that. And that's going to be fun. On Thursday on the Big Monster Briefing Room, Freddy versus Jason, which will be our first big Halloween extravaganza, and then we're going to do the original Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Dracula movies in color. So,
in color, colorized.
A lot of work for me this month. A lot of work.
That's
gonna have to watch some John Wick.
I
have never seen the John Wick films.
Really?
I haven't seen them. I haven't seen one of them, so I'll be watching them this week.
Yeah, you have a lot of homework all the time, Rory.
Yeah, if you like action movies, you'll like the John Wick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's it for tonight then, guys.
So what's coming up later? Is anything coming? Oh, that's right. Tom's
so Burn It Down is on break right now, and then tomorrow we have It's Casual, and then Wednesday is the season 3 premiere of Orchid Times on Tardon Media, so you can watch that at Tardon Media YouTube or the Orchid Times Facebook page. And then right after back on Cosmos at 9 p.m. is Getting Salty with Sandy D. Then Thursday, Big Monster Briefing Room, and then No Icing. That comes on right after. And then I know I'm forgetting stuff. I'm so sorry, guys. But then we have improv with Pan on Pan
Saturday. Right. I was going to,
Yeah, which is going to be very, very cool. So subscribe to Pan and her channel so that you can check out all of the cool stuff. She was in here a little bit earlier. Hi, Pan, earlier. She was here, and David is here as well.
Hey, David.
So, hello, Pan.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff going on.
Hey, Pan, how's it going, baby?
We're still going to do that. We're going to do that.
I hope
at the end of the month.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. 2 weeks.
I just want to see Renee as in her character. I'm not going to mention what it is.
I have the costume. I was telling Dennis all about it. I said I have the whole costume already. Awesome. And there's accoutrement and everything. So you're gonna see the full, and it's and I'm trying to get the affect down. There's a unique, weird affect that this character has. Yeah. So I've been practicing, so it's gonna be fun.
Well, I think it's that mid-Atlantic accent, like so many.
It is. I think
that era had
mid-Atlantic, which is not.
Maybe we should recast me as Richard Burton.
There's like a British part of it too. There's a
Yeah.
little very weird. It's very not me. So that I love that because I get to play in areas that are totally.
As long as we don't have to sit coach.
Don't give it all away, Rory. Don't give it all away.
Yeah. So
Hannah's going, no.
So yeah. So I did figure out what to do with this, and I'll talk to you about that, Renee, when later on when we get to that.
Oh, I'm excited to hear. I want to know. That's great.
Yeah, how we get around that, because I'm not shaving. I'm sorry.
CJ was
I
asking.
could, but
CJ wanted to know. So yeah.
So anyway, alrighty then.
Take us out, Manny. Take us out.
Okay. Next week, Keanu Reeves. So please stay tuned for that. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Two Guys and a Gal Talking About Movies. Adios. Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.